In the year 1615, deep in the mountains of feudal Japan, a master asked his student a question that sounded simple, but would decide life or death. "If 10 enemies stand before you," the master said calmly, "how many can you defeat?" The young samurai did not hesitate and answered, "All 10." The old master shook his head. "Wrong." The dojo fell silent as he continued. "You would defeat none, because the moment your mind divides itself between 10 enemies, you have already lost to the first." That single sentence carried a truth so severe that many warriors never recovered from it, because the samurai learned something brutal early in life. Victory does not belong to the strongest body, it belongs to the quietest mind. The warriors who understood this became legends, while the ones who did not died with perfect technique and shattered focus. And here is the part most people never hear. This lesson was never about combat, it was about how to live. Because right now, you are fighting 10 enemies of your own. Work pulling you forward, regret pulling you backward, fear whispering in your ear, distraction stealing your attention, and expectation crushing your presence. Like those young samurai, your mind is everywhere except where your body stands, and when the mind is divided, even simple things become exhausting. Decisions feel heavy, discipline collapses, and life becomes noise.
This is where the story of Teishi begins. Teishi was 17 when he realized something was wrong. He had trained in the mountain dojo for nearly 5 years, waking before dawn, practicing until his hands bled, memorizing every form, every stance, every cut. From the outside, he looked like a future master, but inside, he was always somewhere else. During sparring, his thoughts raced ahead of his movements. What if I lose? What if the master sees my weakness? What if this strike isn't perfect? His breath shortened, his body tightened, and in those moments, his flawless technique betrayed him. The other students noticed and whispered, "Good form, but no spirit. He thinks too much." The words burned deeper than any blade. In samurai culture, there was one test that mattered more than all others: the final examination, a duel between student and master, wooden sword against real steel, not to the death, but to the moment where death becomes inevitable.
Teishi was nearing the age when most students faced it, yet his master had said nothing. One evening, after training ended, Teishi knelt before Yamamoto-sensei. "When will I be ready?" he asked. The old master studied him quietly. "You are technically ready," he said. Teishi felt relief until the next words landed. "But technique is the least important part." "I don't understand," Teishi said. Yamamoto stood. "Take your sword." Teishi obeyed. "Now," the master said, kneeling calmly before him, "strike." Teishi froze. The opening was perfect, the moment absolute, yet his hands shook. "I can't," he whispered. "Why? You are my master." The old man's voice hardened. "No, that is not respect. It is fear. Fear of consequence, fear of failure, fear of what comes after action. Your mind," Yamamoto said slowly, "is in 10 places except the only one that matters. Here, now. Until you learn presence," the master continued, "you will never be samurai. You will be a corpse with excellent form." That night, Teishi did not sleep. He sat alone, staring at the moonlight cutting through the wooden floor. 5 years of training, 5 years of sacrifice, and the enemy was not his body, it was his mind. For the first time, he understood the paradox of the samurai. The sword does not create mastery, presence does. And unless he learned it, everything he had built
would collapse.
If this lesson already feels uncomfortable, that's a good sign, because the moment you realize your mind is divided is the moment training begins. This is not motivation, this is preparation, and this is only the beginning of the path of mastery. Chapter 2. The Boy Who Failed Despite Perfect Technique. The next morning, the dojo felt different. Not quieter, not louder, heavier. Teishi arrived before sunrise as always, kneeling in silence while the others prepared for training. His body moved on instinct, tying his uniform, stretching his arms, adjusting his grip. But his mind replayed the master's words from the night before. A corpse with excellent form. He had never been insulted so precisely. When training began, Yamamoto-sensei did something unexpected. "There will be no sword practice today," he said. A ripple of confusion passed through the students. "Today," the master continued, "we clean." They bowed and obeyed. For hours they swept the wooden floors, scrubbed pillars, cleaned weapons, polished the shrine. It was monotonous work, the kind that made the mind wander. And it wandered, it did. "This is a waste of time. I should be training. The test is coming. Others are getting ahead." Teishi swept mechanically, his body moving while his thoughts ran miles ahead. Then he noticed something. The master was sweeping too, but not like the others. Every movement Yamamoto-sensei made was complete. When he pushed the broom forward, there was nothing else in his world. No future, no past, only the bristles against the floor. When he lifted the broom, the movement ended cleanly. No rush, no hesitation. It was unsettling to watch. Not because it was impressive, but because it revealed something Teishi had never seen before. The master was fully here. After the cleaning ended, Yamamoto called Teishi forward. "What did you learn today?" the master asked. Teishi hesitated and said that the dojo must be kept clean. The old man smiled faintly and said, "No." He gestured for Teishi to follow. Behind the main hall was a smaller room, a meditation space rarely used for instruction. On the wall hung a single scroll with 2 characters painted in elegant ink. "Shoshin," beginner's mind, Yamamoto said. Teishi nodded. He had heard the term before. "But you don't understand it," the master continued. "When a beginner holds a sword for the first time, what fills his mind?" Teishi thought carefully and answered, "Curiosity and focus." "Yes," the master said, "and nothing else. No fear of losing, no image of winning, no concern for reputation. Only this grip, this stance, this moment." The master sat down and Teishi followed. "Now tell me," Yamamoto said, "when you sweep the floor, where is your mind?" Teishi felt heat rise in his chest and admitted it was everywhere else. "And when you spar?" "Thinking about outcomes, about mistakes, about being judged." The master nodded. "You are never present for your own life. You sweep while thinking of swords. You practice swords while thinking of tests, so you never actually do anything." The words landed slowly, heavier than a blow. "The samurai's greatest weapon," Yamamoto said, "is not the katana. It is presence." He gestured again toward the scroll. "Shoshin is not ignorance," he continued. "It is emptiness. An empty mind does not panic. An empty mind does not hesitate. An empty mind responds." Teishi swallowed and asked how to train this. The master stood and said that from tomorrow he would train differently. Every task he did, eating, walking, cleaning, fighting, he would do with full attention. When you eat, only eat. When you walk, only walk. When you swing your sword, there is nothing but the sword. For how long? Teishi asked. The master looked at him steadily and said, until you understand. Maybe a month, maybe a year, maybe never. That night, Teishi sat alone in his room. He did not chase enlightenment. He did not force silence. He simply sat, breathing in and breathing out. Thoughts came. Am I doing this right? What if this doesn't work? What if I fail anyway? Each time he noticed the thought and returned to his breath. Here, now, this moment only. It was the hardest training he had ever faced because for the first time he wasn't fighting an opponent. He was facing himself. Most people train harder when they should train deeper. They chase results instead of presence, and that is why they never change. If you're still here, you're already doing something different. The next lesson will show you what happens when presence is practiced for 30 straight days. This is where transformation begins. 30 days that rewired a warrior. The first week nearly broke him. Teishi thought learning presence would feel peaceful. Instead, it felt like torture. Every simple action became unbearable. Eating breakfast felt slow and pointless. Walking across the courtyard felt like wading through mud. Sitting in meditation made his legs ache and his mind scream. This is stupid, you're falling behind. Everyone else is improving while you're doing nothing. His mind attacked him relentlessly, and yet he continued. Not because it felt good, but because Yamamoto-sensei had given him a path, and Teishi had learned something important about discipline. True discipline is not intensity. It is obedience to a process, even when the ego resists. By the end of the first week, nothing had improved. No clarity, no calm, no sudden insight, only discomfort. Then came the second week. During one morning meditation, something unexpected happened. For a few brief seconds, the noise stopped. No thoughts, no fear, no analysis, just awareness. He heard the wind moving through the trees outside the dojo, the soft creak of old wood settling, his own heartbeat steady and present. It felt like waking up from a dream he didn't know he was in. The moment passed quickly. The mind returned, but something had changed. Teishi now knew silence was possible, and once you know that, everything changes. He intensified his practice. When sweeping, he became sweeping. The sound of the broom, the resistance of the floor, the rhythm of motion. When eating, he slowed down. He tasted each grain of rice, chewed deliberately, not thinking ahead to the next task. When walking, each step became complete. Heel, weight, balance, lift. The world narrowed, not in limitation, but in clarity. Other students noticed. Teishi walks like an old man, one whispered. He eats like a monk. Has he given up on becoming samurai? Teishi heard them, and for the first time, he didn't care, because something deeper had begun to form. The third week brought the real test. Sparring returned. Teishi faced Kenji, one of the dojo's strongest students, already certified, already respected. Old Teishi would have been terrified. Kenji is better. If I lose, everyone will see. I must perform. But that voice never came. Instead, there was only the moment. Kenji attacked, fast and direct, and something remarkable happened. Teishi's body moved without thought. He sidestepped, deflected, countered. Not planned, not remembered, responded. Kenji paused, surprised. They engaged again. This time, Teishi wasn't fighting Kenji. He was simply present with movement. When Kenji advanced, Teishi responded. When Kenji hesitated, Teishi waited. There was no rush, no tension, just awareness. The match ended quietly. Kenji bowed deeply. "You've changed," he said. Teishi bowed in return, saying nothing. Inside, understanding was settling. Presence was not a spiritual idea, it was a functional power. When you are fully present, fear no longer hijacks movement. Thinking no longer delays action. You don't react from memory, you respond from reality. That evening, Yamamoto-sensei called him forward. "Tomorrow," the master said calmly, "you will face your final test." Teishi felt fear rise, then it passed. He returned to his breath. Here, now, only this. "Yes, master," he replied. For the first time in 5 years, it was true. He was ready. Most people wait for confidence before they act. The samurai trained presence, so confidence became irrelevant. If this lesson is hitting close to home, stay with it, because the next chapter reveals what happens when presence is tested against real steel. This is where most people fail and where mastery begins. Chapter 4: Steel versus Wood, the Test of Presence. The final examination took place at dawn. Mist clung to the dojo courtyard, drifting slowly between stone lanterns and tall bamboo. The air was cold and still. Witnesses gathered quietly, senior students, visiting masters, men who understood exactly what this test meant. Teishi stood alone at one end of the courtyard. He wore simple training robes, in his hands a wooden sword. Across from him stood Yamamoto-sensei, in his hands a real katana, sharpened steel. This was tradition. The student carries wood, the master carries death. If the master wished, the test could end in a single strike. Yamamoto-sensei spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Teishi has trained here for 5 years," he said. "Today, he does not attempt to defeat me. That is impossible. He will demonstrate awareness under pressure. He will show presence." The master lowered into stance. The katana caught the morning light. Teishi felt his heartbeat, strong and clear. Fear rose and passed. He placed his attention on his feet touching the earth, the weight of the wooden sword, the sound of wind through bamboo. Here, now, the master moved. Not a full attack, a testing strike, fast. Teishi did not think. His body stepped aside. The blade whispered past his shoulder. He countered, not to strike, but to respond. They reset. The master attacked again, faster this time. High cut, low sweep. Teishi flowed, block, turn, move. The steel never touched him. Around the courtyard, murmurs spread. This was unusual. Most students survived the test by retreating, desperately defending. Teishi was not retreating, he was responding. Yamamoto-sensei increased the pace. Now the attacks were real, precise, relentless. This was no demonstration, this was combat. And something extraordinary happened. Teishi stopped trying. He stopped trying to win, stopped trying to impress, stopped trying to survive. He simply stayed present. Strike appeared, response followed, no hesitation, no planning. The fight became fluid, almost silent. 3 minutes passed. In real combat, that was eternity. Then the master did something unexpected. He created an opening, wide, obvious, an invitation. Most students would have lunged forward, desperate to seize victory. Teishi saw it and did nothing, because presence revealed what ambition hides. It was a trap. The master waited. Understanding passed between them. Then Yamamoto-sensei stepped back, lowered his katana, and bowed. "Enough," he said. "You have passed." Silence followed, then respectful murmurs from the watching masters. Teishi bowed deeply. His body trembled, not from fear, but from release. Later, in private, the master spoke. "5 years ago," Yamamoto said, "you came here wanting to become the greatest swordsman. Today, you became something better. you became present. The master's voice softened. When you ignored that opening, you showed wisdom. The young warrior attacks every chance. The master understands that some victories are defeats in disguise. Teishi listened carefully. "Master," he said, "I've passed the test, but it feels like the beginning, not the end." Yamamoto smiled. Yes, this was only the first transformation, from student to samurai. There is another. Teishi looked up. "I am sending you away," the master continued, "to Mount Koya, a year with the monks, not to train the sword, but to dissolve the self." Teishi's eyes widened. "Leave?" "Yes, you have learned presence in combat. Now you must learn presence without conflict. Because true mastery is not fighting better, it is transcending the need to fight at all." Teishi bowed. He had thought the path was complete. He had only reached the gate. Most people stop training the moment they feel capable. The samurai trained past competence into clarity. If you think mastery ends with skill, you haven't gone far enough. The next chapter reveals why the greatest warriors turned towards silence. Chapter 5. Mount Koya, where ego dies. Mount Koya stood far above the world Teishi knew. Ancient forests, cold stone paths, temples older than memory. When Teishi arrived, he carried his swords, his pride, and his new title as samurai. The head monk, Master Ikkyu, looked at him quietly and said, "Leave your swords at the gate." Teishi hesitated and replied, "But I am samurai." Master Ikkyu nodded calmly and said, "Here you are only a beginner. You will not need weapons." Reluctantly, Teishi obeyed, and so began the hardest year of his life. There was no combat training, no sparring, no tests of strength, only sitting. Hours of meditation each day. The first month was psychological warfare. Teishi's legs burned, his back ached, and his mind screamed, "This is pointless. I'm wasting my training. I've earned more than this." Master Ikkyu walked silently between the students, carrying a wooden stick. When a student's posture revealed wandering attention, the stick landed lightly on their shoulder, not as punishment, but as reminder. Teishi was struck often, not because he was weak, but because his mind refused to let go. By the second month, something shifted. During walking meditation, one step per breath, Teishi realized something subtle. Presence was not about stopping thoughts, it was about not following them. Thoughts came, doubt, pride, fear, but now he watched them. Oh, a thought, and returned to the sensation of movement, heel, weight, balance. The thoughts lost their power. They were clouds. He was the sky. Months passed, and the monastery became his entire world. Waking before dawn, sitting in silence, simple meals, work meditation, chopping wood, carrying water, tending gardens, each action done completely. When chopping wood, there was only axe and grain. When carrying water, only weight and breath. When sitting, only sitting. Teishi discovered layers of awareness. First, attention to the task, then awareness of thought, then something deeper, a stillness beneath everything, unmoved by pain, unmoved by emotion, unmoved by circumstance. The monks called it original mind. The samurai called it Fudoshin, the immovable mind. In the 7th month, Master Ikkyu summoned him and said, "You have learned presence in stillness. Now you must learn presence in chaos." He handed Teishi a letter and said, "A village nearby has been threatened by bandits. You will go alone." Teishi felt something stir, old instincts, the warrior's identity. Then he noticed it, the desire to prove himself. "Interesting." "I will go," he said, bowing. Master Ikkyu stopped him and said quietly, "Remember, the goal is not to defeat enemies, The goal is to remain present. Teishi bowed again and left at dawn. Each step down the mountain was calm, each breath complete. For the first time, he did not wonder what would happen, only what was happening. Most people think mastery is adding power. The samurai knew it was removing ego. If you're still here, you're not looking for motivation, you're looking for transformation. The final chapter reveals the truth few ever reach: why presence ends conflict without violence. Chapter 6: The Warrior Who No Longer Needed the Sword. The village lay 3 days from the mountain, small, quiet, afraid. When Teishi arrived at dusk, the villagers watched him from behind wooden doors. The headman stepped forward and bowed deeply. "They come at dawn," he said. 5 men, ronin, led by one named Katsuro. "Once a respected samurai," he continued, "but when his lord fell, he lost himself." Teishi listened in silence. That night, he sat alone beneath the stars. Old Teishi would have planned tactics, calculated odds, prepared for death. This Teishi simply breathed. Fear arose. He acknowledged it and let it pass. Here, now, only this. At dawn, the bandits arrived. 5 armed men, rough and confident. Katsuro stepped forward, scarred, hardened, eyes shaped by loss. Teishi walked out to meet them, unarmed. The bandits laughed. "The village sent 1 monk?" one sneered. Teishi stood calmly, still. Katsuro raised a hand, silencing the others. Something about Teishi unsettled him. "You don't stand like a farmer," Katsuro said. "Who trained you?" "Men who understood presence," Teishi replied. Katsuro narrowed his eyes. "And you think presence will stop us?" Teishi shook his head gently. "I'm not here to stop you. I'm here to speak." Confusion rippled through the group. Teishi stepped closer, open and unguarded. "You were once samurai," he said to Katsuro. "You lived by honor. What happened?" For a brief moment, the hardness cracked. "My lord was killed," Katsuro said. "My purpose died with him." Teishi nodded. "You lost everything you served." "Yes, but you did not lose who you are," Teishi said quietly. Silence followed. The other bandits shifted uneasily. Katsuro's hand rested on his sword. "And what do you know of that?" he asked. "I know this," Teishi replied. "You can lose your title, your master, your weapon, but you cannot lose your true nature unless you abandon it." One bandit scoffed and said, "This is nonsense," drawing his blade and charging forward. Teishi did not move, did not flinch, did not resist. The sword stopped inches from his throat. The bandit froze. Something in Teishi's stillness, the absence of fear, the absence of aggression, made violence impossible. The man staggered backward, shaken. Katsuro watched everything, then slowly knelt, head bowed. "I forgot," he said. "I forgot what it meant to be samurai." The others stared in disbelief. Katsuro rose and sheathed his sword. "We leave," he said. "We will not return." He looked at Teishi one last time and asked where he learned this. "Mount Koya," Teishi replied. Katsuro nodded. "Perhaps I will go there too." The bandits left and the village was saved without a single strike. Teishi returned to the mountain. Master Ikkyu listened silently as the story unfolded. "And what did you learn?" the monk asked. Teishi answered without hesitation. "Presence is the ultimate weapon, not because it defeats enemies, but because it transforms them. When you are fully present, people see themselves clearly, and clarity dissolves conflict." The monk smiled and said yes. The greatest victory is not defeating others, it is transcending the need to fight. Years later, Teishi returned to Yamamoto-sensei's dojo, this time as a teacher. A young student arrived one morning, eager, talented, anxious. "I want to become the greatest swordsman," the boy said. Teishi smiled, handed him a broom, and said, "Come, we begin with sweeping." The boy frowned and protested, "But master." "When you sweep," Teishi said gently, "just sweep. Be here. Because there is no moment when you become great. There is only this moment and the next, and mastery lives in how fully you meet them." The samurai did not train the mind to win battles. They trained it to become unshakable, to act without fear, to live without distraction, to face life fully present. The sword was never the point. Presence was, and this is the path of mastery. If you're tired of fighting yourself, if your mind is everywhere except where your life is happening, stay on this path. The next lesson goes deeper. Train presence, live with clarity, walk the path.